You know, I've always wondered why supplement companies don't push the health benefits of glutamine rather than just the muscle building benefits and sometimes the fat loss benefits. But I guess at the end of the day, they're appealing to the right kind of market that wants to hear that. Well, I want to talk about the real aspects of glutamine, the real positive benefits of glutamine. And I want to have some real talk about what glutamine is, because glutamine is an essential amino acid. It's already in our body. And what an essential amino acid means is it means we don't need to get it from exogenous sources. We don't need to get it from our food. We don't necessarily need to get it from supplementation unless we're totally worn down. You see, we have stores of glutamine as is. But let's talk about how glutamine works. You see, glutamine is a nitrogen transport system. Basically, it transports over 1/3 of the body's total nitrogen. And right now, at the beginning of this video, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But let's put it like this. Anytime you are under stress, or you have any kind of trauma, or even after a tough workout where you've torn down a bunch of muscle fibers, sort of a micro trauma, so to speak, your body is in a state of recovery. So it needs nitrogen in order to keep organs functioning and to stimulate the healing of the trauma source. So basically, if you tear down your muscles after a workout, or if you have a big surgery or you have a big wound, you need nitrogen in order to heal. Well, since glutamine is a huge nitrogen transport system, we need glutamine. And that is why our body has regular stores of glutamine. Well, here's the thing. If you're going through a lot of trauma, or you're working out all the time and beating yourself up, or you are under serious amounts of chronic stress, or you're sick, or you're undergoing some kind of treatment, well, your body is pumping out nitrogen like crazy to try to keep your body functioning, keep those organs rolling, which means you're depleting your glutamine stores. And when you deplete your glutamine stores, that's when things can happen. So yes, there is a time and a place for supplementation of glutamine. In fact, what's super interesting is that cancer patients that are going through chemotherapy are oftentimes given glutamine supplementation to help heal their intestinal tract, to help heal their immune system, and help keep their immune system elevated so that they can undergo the treatment without completely having a bunch of wear and tear on their bodies. Those two basic things that I want to talk about are cytokines and lymphocytes. Now, lymphocytes are basically a type of white blood cell. And that particular white blood cell is released whenever we have any kind of immune response related to antibodies. So if we get a cold or a flu, those lymphocytes are elevated and they go to attack that cold or flu. Well, glutamine helps regulate that. Glutamine helps support the healthy proliferation of those lymphocytes when they're needed. So you can imagine if all the glutamine in the body is being diverted over to help that area, that might be why your recovery might be slower on the other end. So if you've ever noticed you get sore, you don't seem to recover from a workout right before you're about to get sick or while you're sick, well, that's why, because your body's recovery system is focusing on that, and that is supported a lot of times by glutamine. Now, the other side of the coin is the cytokines. Now, cytokines are the messenger. Basically, what they do is they modulate the message to the white blood cells. They help regulate and make sure that the white blood cells go to the right place. They're sort of the messenger. Now, glutamine helps support that as well. So, in effect, if you think about it, if you have enough glutamine in your body, you have appropriate stores, that message can be conveyed properly to your white blood cells, which means they don't go rogue, they don't go crazy as much. Because sometimes, if you have an immune response, you can just be flat on your butt because your immune system is so elevated and it might not be as targeted to where you really need it to go. So that's really the immune system effect of glutamine. And you can see while keeping your glutamine levels supported and elevated through proper supplementation can help you in that process. Now, in a wraparound way, that does help your recovery from workouts. That does help you build muscle. That does help you burn fat because your body has the energy, it has the stores, it has the support that it needs to actually allow you to recover from daily traumas that occur anyway. In fact, one study that I thought was interesting was a study that focused on bone marrow transplants. Now, if you've ever looked at bone marrow transplants, or if you've ever seen any shows or documentaries on them, or you've ever been in a cancer center at all, you'll find that bone marrow transplant centers are super, super clean. They have to be very, very sterile because when someone goes through a bone marrow transplant, they're very susceptible to illness. And what happened in this particular study, it was found that when they were supported with glutamine supplementation, they had a much lower risk of infection and their hospital stays, their length of time actually admitted in the hospital was dramatically reduced. So it does play a strong effect in your overall recovery. Now, there's one other thing I want to talk about when it comes to glutamine. Now, I'm always talking about absorbing nutrients. I'm always talking about making sure you're getting the right kind of food and that you're absorbing it. Well, what if I told you that glutamine actually plays a big role in that as well? And you see, it still kind of comes back to the immune system. So what we have to look at is just like any kind of trauma. If you have trauma in your muscle, you have trauma in your head, you have trauma in your torso from a wound, sure, you have that immune response. You have those lymphocytes, you have those cytokines, you have those prostaglandins that are pumping out. Okay, well the same thing happens if you have inflammation in your gut, in your intestinal tract from eating the wrong foods or foods that you have issues with. Well, that inflammation triggers that same response. It depletes glutamine. So your body is trying to heal your intestinal tract, but in the process, that inflammation caused by your body trying to heal it makes it so that you sometimes absorb large particles of food that you shouldn't be absorbing. This is called a leaky gut, and I've talked about it in other videos. Those large particles go into the bloodstream, and the body, once again, doesn't recognize them and fights them even more. So then your immune system is even heightened more, and that makes it so you deplete even more of your glutamine stores. So consequently, by having inflammation in the gut, you can be on this perpetual cycle where you're never able to really restore glutamine. So if you start supplementing glutamine, you can possibly slow down that process. But another thing is glutamine is actually linked to strengthening the intestinal walls. So glutamine can actually make it so your gut can heal. It can help your immune system, which mostly takes place in your gut anyway, and it can physically help your gut heal. So when you put this all together, it makes sense why glutamine is such an important amino acid and why it's touted so much throughout the health community. But I encourage you to look at it from both angles, because if you understand how your body works and how you work from a health standpoint, then you can divert and focus your energy on how to look your best and feel your best through your workouts, understanding how the body is working in the first place. As always, keep it locked in here on my videos, and I'll see you in the next one.